Noah and the place of safety. Let's launch this prophetic sermon with Luke 17. Luke 17 and verse 26. Christ utters, "Now as it was in the days of Noah, so also shall be in the days of the Son of Man," the last days, also known as the end time. They were eating. So these are hints. They were eating. They were drinking. They were marrying. They were being given in marriage. Everything just seemed so good and prosperous until that day that Noah went into the ark. Now understand, when they went into the ark, the doors closed for 7 days. The flood didn't come. What was it like the time of Noah when they weren't seen for 7 days? They were doing their eating and drinking and marrying. And Jesus says it will be like that in the end time. Now, let's pick it up here. It says in verse 27, "And the flood came and destroyed them all." Now that represents God's wrath. Now remember the word flood there. But let's shoot down to verse 34. It says, "I tell you, in that night there shall be 2 in one bed." This is before you go on the ark or before you go to the place of safety. It says, "One shall be taken and the other shall be left." Now, when do days begin in the Bible? At sunset. So this is at night. This is a world event. It will be all of them will be taken by eagle angels. And we'll see that. And it says at night, now some don't go. It says, verse 35, 2 women shall be grinding together. When does that happen? In the morning, somewhere else. Now it could be morning in Australia while it's night here. It's a world event. One shall be taken and the other shall be left. And then you get the afternoon. 2 men shall be in the field. One shall be taken, and the other shall be left. And they answered, saying to him, "Where, Lord?" Now notice. And he said to them, "Where the body is." Now what's the body? It's the church of God. So where the body is, there will the eagles be gathered together. That's the place of safety, brethren. I want you to go to Revelation chapter 12, and you will see this. Now, meanwhile, we're protected by what? The red horse. The beast rides the first horse, a white one, and it's 3.5 years of a so-called world peace. And then it says there's a red horse that takes away the peace from the earth. And that we don't want to be a part of. Now, the ones left behind, 2 sleeping and right in their bed, 1 taken, 1 not. Or 2 women grinding? Well, the ones left behind experience this red horse, this martyrdom. So I want to read a quote from Jeremiah 4:6. It says, "Set up the banner towards Zion." Now, where's Zion located? Where's New Jerusalem? In the heavens. So we need to look there, flee for safety, and do not wait. Don't wait around. It says, "For I will bring evil from the north." What is the beast also called? The king of what? The north. It says, "and a great destruction." That's the wrath of God. So if you want to be in Noah's ark, so to speak, and away from the rains that are going to come, the flood, you must not wait around. Let's go to Revelation chapter 12. And I'm going to read verse 13 and 14. "And when the dragon saw that he was cast down to the earth." Now why? Because he just got his butt kicked. Yes, in the heavens by Michael and his angels, where he can no longer go up there anymore. And he is furious. And it says, "He persecuted the woman," that's the church, who had brought forth the man-child, and 2 wings of a great eagle were given to the woman. Now, does that mean there's just one eagle? No. What is the woman? Does it mean it's just one woman? No. The woman is consisted of many members of the church. It says so that she will fly to her place of safety. That's where you get it from. To her place. It says in the wilderness where she's nourished for 3.5 years. What's the nourishment? You're going to see it's just like the Apostle Paul in Arabia in the wilderness. He was nourished for 3 years by Jesus Christ. And we're going to see that for a time, that 3.5-year time, from the face of the serpent. In other words, a year from that time, the serpent can't peek in, the face. They no longer have that face of the serpent up in their business. That's interesting, huh? No more influence from the serpent? That is truly a wonderful thing. And this serpent casts water out of his mouth as a river, notice, so that he might cause her, that's that group, the remnant, that's not all of them, right? Only some were taken, to be carried away by the flood connection, Noah's flood, boom, right? Except this one's symbolic, Revelation symbolic. The Old Testament is literal. So you have a flood destroying the people back then. Now flood here represents an army. So Satan loses the battle. For 3.5 years, the beast ruled with peace. And then he gets a head wound. So he's lying there on the ground. Satan goes back into the beast. And he rises. That's when the second beast comes and uplifts the first beast. Is when the mark of the beast, 666, occurs. It's when they erect a statue of the beast and he speaks. All these things happen when you hopefully are fleeing. You're in that ark. You're safe from these things. Now let's continue. It says the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up the river. Notice that the earth helped. There's going to be a note on that in Genesis, that the dragon has cast out of his mouth. It says, then the dragon was furious with the woman and went to make war with the rest of the seed. That's not the remnant. The rest is the majority that's left behind. Now, how do I know that? You read the Old Testament. How many were always on fire for God when things were good? A very small amount. The remnant will be saved. And that's who goes to the place of safety. And it says that they keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. So they are God's people. They're not Baal worshipers. So he goes after them and they're not protected. And I want to read a psalm here. Psalm 32 verse 6 says, let every godly one pray to you, God, in a time when you may be found. Can God be found right now? He wants you to pray right now and be connected. It says, surely in the floods of great waters, they shall not come near that person. Those floods do not penetrate that group going to the place of safety on eagle's wings. It's a bunch of powerful eagles. Now remember in the wilderness, when did they leave? What day? Night to be much observed. And they went for 50 days on eagle's wings to Mount Sinai, where God says, I was there. And he spoke from the mountain. So on eagle's wings, they walked, didn't they? But the eagles were protecting. You know why it says on eagle's wings? I did a whole article on this and it was published. It's called On Eagle's Wings. And in a synopsis, when an eagle, mother eagle, is in their nest and they have the eaglets and they're about ready to fly, the mother eaglet pushes one out. And it's going to fall to its death if it doesn't fly, right? But if it doesn't fly, the mother eagle whooshes down and on eagle's wings brings the eaglet back to the nest for another rehearsal flight. So on eagle's wings, God takes us to a place of safety where we're learning to fly, where we're nourished. So he spoke to them then, and he will speak to us in the place of safety like he did the Apostle Paul in Arabia, which is called Mount Sinai in Galatians 4. You could look up that one. So it says here, it continues, great waters, you are my hiding place. This is Psalm 32. You shall preserve me from trouble. You shall encircle me with songs of deliverance. So there will be songs that we sing of deliverance in the place of safety. Do you think Noah, that group of 8, was singing a deliverance song? When outside you can just hear it? God's wrath upon the world? No, imagine that for a second. Let's just say there was 1 billion people then, knowing that they're all dying at that moment. They're all drowning. They're trying to get to higher areas, right? All the animals, all the birds dying. It's pretty sobering. So when you're in the place of safety, there's going to be that same occurrence. Now, let's shoot over to Matthew 24:28. It says, for wherever the carcass may be, carcass, wait a second, carcass, yeah, the ones left behind, they will be martyred. It says, wherever the carcass may be, there will the eagles be gathered together. Now, these are not angelic ones. They're physical ones. These are the ones left behind. The other ones have spiritual eagles protecting them. So how do you know it? Read the next verse. It's the martyred. But immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. Now the moon turns to blood. What does the sun represent? Who? Jesus Christ. It says it in Malachi. Okay, so Jesus Christ, well, it could also be God. And you have the moon representing, it reflects the light, doesn't it? I knew once someone that thought the moon generated its own light. And I'm like, no, the sun reflects the moonlight. Oh, really, Randy? And it's just sometimes we don't know these things. We reflect God's light. So the moon turns to blood. That's the martyrdom of the saints. Now, let's go to the account in Genesis chapter 6. In Genesis 6, because Jesus said the end time will be like Noah, so maybe there's something extra in here. Genesis 6, let's go to verse 5. And the Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great on the earth, and every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Don't we see that today? It's reached a whole new level. You read in Revelation 13 that the sins at this Noah time have reached heaven. Heaven's pretty far up there, okay? That means at one time it was halfway there, right? One time it was 3/4 there. Where are we at now? It says, and the Lord, he regretted that he had made man on the earth, and he was grieved in his heart. Now look at that. I gave a sermon where we are to please what's in God's heart. Doesn't the model prayer say that? Your will be done, not what's in my heart be done. What God's heart, and it's a lot better in your will. So it's a win-win situation. But he was grieved in the heart because they weren't performing in his image, his will. It says, and the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I've created from the face of the earth. Now think about that. You create something in your own image, and they rebel. That's frustrating. It says, now notice this list that I'm about to read. It excludes one group. Notice, both man and beast and crawling things and the fowl of the earth. There's no fishies mentioned. No octopuses mentioned. No whales mentioned. Why? Because they will live in what is about to come. For I regret that I have made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. Now, you know what the name Noah means? Rest. God's 8 means a new beginning. That's when we will forever be in God's rest. And he found grace. That's a gift, grace. I'm going to quote Ephesians 2:8. I read, "For by grace you have been saved through faith." Notice that. You have to have not only your faith, but God's faith. That's one of the fruits of the Spirit. It says, "And this especially is not of your own selves." You're not saved by your own might. Like you have some mega rich building shelters right now. They are not going to be able to save themselves. It says, it is the gift of God. So understand, if you go to the place of safety, you, through the faith that you have of God, are spared by his grace, and you're given this opportunity with a ribbon on it. So that's what Noah found, favor. And if we continue and go to verse 11, let's go to 11. Now the earth was corrupt before God. I thought the earth is just mega, a bunch of lava and crust and layers, right? No, it's literally it's symbolic to the people. Watch, the earth also was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. So not only does the time of Noah have eating, drinking, and marrying, it's also filled with violence. And God looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted its way upon the earth. Now, a little insight here. If the end time's like Noah, that means the earth is corrupt, right? The whole earth. Well, the first beast comes out of the sea. The sea is not the whole earth, but the sea is a multitude of nations and people. And we know that the nation, Babylon today, welcome to the United States of America, we the people, that the man of sin will come out of. The most powerful nation in the world. But the second beast, it says, comes out of what? The earth. And now you know he comes out of a corrupt earth, a violent earth. It adds details. And that's what happens. Verse 13, and God said to Noah, he said, the end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Now notice that, with the earth. Remember in Revelation 12, the flood came, the army. How did he destroy them? Like Korah and his 250 men. The earth opened up and took the flood army, Satan's army. Okay, it wasn't the 200 million man army. That comes later. It's a smaller army, but the earth gobbled them up. Just like the earth, remember, rain came out of the earth and from above. Destroyed them. So there's a lot of parallels. Noah and the place of safety. Now, I want to go to Revelation 13. Revelation 13, because here's a hint on how to get to the place of safety. And I'm going to read verses 10 and 11. Now, if anyone, doesn't matter who you are, gathers into captivity, he shall go into captivity. Do you understand that? If you're someone that puts someone in bondage, you will go into bondage. Didn't that happen to Judah? They didn't observe God's Sabbath, the day of freedom. They made it unholy. They put people in bondage. They had people working for them. And they were put into captivity with Babylon, right? So if you are a church member of God and you're residing today in his holiness, and you go out to your local Walmart and buy a candle because it means so much to you and you can reflect and study. You're not to go and buy on that day. You know when you can buy? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the preparation day. If you need 2 candles on that day, you get it, you prepare. But if you're those on day 7, go into a restaurant, sit down, and be served by those in bondage, right? They're in bondage because they don't understand the holy Sabbath day and they're working, right? And you have those in bondage, those in captivity. If you gather, you will also go into captivity. So you have a whole candlestick called Laodicea, the 7th one, putting people in bondage, having people work for them on the Sabbath, going and buying on the Sabbath. So they will go and be left behind. Do you see it? So if you want to go where the place of safety is, you don't put those in captivity on God's day of freedom. It's says it flat out right here. And it says, if anyone kills with the sword, he must be killed with the sword. So there's people in the Church of God who are like, and they're 2 guns. And they got a whole safe full of guns. Now, guns are not evil, okay? But when they gather these guns, this is my protection. Then God goes, okay, then you're killed by those things. It's really simple. Doesn't God do this a lot? Since the earth became corrupt, he had the earth swallow him up. So now listen to the next verse. It says, here is the endurance and the faith of the saints. And I saw another beast rising out of the earth. That's a violent, corrupted earth. And he had 2 horns like a lamb, but spoke like a dragon. So on the outside, wow, he looks very good. And what is a dragon? He speaks very cunning, clever. It's going to fool the world. So these are all hints on to get on that boat, okay? Now Noah, how long did it take him to build that boat? Well, he was 500. It doesn't say he started at 500. It doesn't say that. It just says he had his 3 sons at 500. Interesting. And then at 600, he completed it. Now, could it have been 100 years? Yes, but it could have been 70. It could have been 50. Now, was it just Noah building the ark? He could have had outside help. Just because it says Noah built the ark, well, that means King Solomon built the temple. No, he could hire out. Now, I thought about this. What if they were hired out and you were one of those workers? And then the floods came? Man, you helped build that ark, that place of safety, but you were contracted out. There's no problem with that. And it's all possible. So for 100 years or less, Noah built the ark. And the point I'm making is it takes a lot of preparation and time. And it's the work of God. And he had to be dedicated and faithful. Now, let's go to Luke 21, because this tells us how to get to the place of safety. Do you want to go to the place of safety? Now, if you answered no, because, it doesn't exist, well, then you won't go. That's as simple as that. If you don't believe in a kingdom, you won't go. If you don't believe in a place of safety, then you won't go. It says, I took her to her place where she resides for 3.5 years. That's the word of God. Now let's go to Luke 21 on how to get there. How do you get in Noah's Ark, so to speak? Luke 21:34. We read, watch yourselves lest your hearts be preoccupied. Notice the traits of Noah's time. High living, drinking, and the cares of his life, and that day come upon you suddenly. Now, if that day can come upon you suddenly, That means that's the no one knows the day or hour. Think about it. That term is used in many different forms, but it's also meant that no one knows the time you'll be taken. So you better be ready. And look at, they have their hearts taken away from this high living. Remember, the hearts of men became corrupt. Now, Laodicea, what does it say? They're in need of nothing. I don't need no ark. I don't need no God, right? They're rich and increase with goods. Just throw money at that. Here, problem solved. Here, throw some money at that. And then they're going to be hit suddenly. No, it's going to be worse than that. Now think about that. I don't want it to happen. Now, one of the reasons God had Noah go in the ark, he's in the church, right? He's in the body. He's in the Heroes of Faith chapter. Also, the place of safety, it's what Jesus said. What did he say about the church of God? That hell will never prevail against it. In other words, the church won't be completely wiped out. There'll always be someone surviving. And it'll be small. It'll be a small remnant. Now continue, it says, for as a snare, it will come upon those who dwell on the face. Remember, I did this? Bam! Of the earth. Watch, therefore, and pray at all times. Now, you do that? Do you pray at all times that you may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass and to stand before the Son of Man? Do you pray at all times? Did you pray it this week? Well, if you didn't pray it once this week, that's not at all times. At least once a week. This is a command of God. Then there's a naysayer in the church. Sadly, there's no place of safety. Oh, you don't need to pray to escape then. Think about that. That's what a Laodicea says. There's no place of safety. The reality is these are realities that are being spoken from the pulpit right now. These are realities. And if you're not listening to realities and you kind of want to ignore this right now, that means you're not in reality. And you're in some fantasy somewhere, and that fantasy will end like they all do. And it says, you'll stand before the Son of Man. That's not the resurrection. Jesus is going to visit for 3.5 years the place of safety on eagle's wings, just like they went onto him at Mount Sinai. It will be our final training. This is the church of Philadelphia. You know what candlestick that is? Anyone? It's number 6. The one before Laodicea. Now, really quickly, if you go to Revelation chapter 3, it says here in verse 10 about Philadelphia, listen to this, because you have kept the word of my patience. That means they're working it right now. They're keeping the Sabbath holy now. Tomorrow they're open their Bible and they study. They're helping people. They shine their light. They're praying, God, please. I know out there they're eating and drinking and marrying, but help me not to be preoccupied, caught up in that, and spare me. Let me do your will. Make me worthy to escape. Pray that prayer. And it says, this is that group. I also will keep you from the time of temptation. That's the tribulation, which is about to come upon the whole world to try those who dwell on the earth. That's why it's called the great tribulation of the whole earth. That group makes it to the place of safety. No one knows they're the Church of Philadelphia and on that ark until they're going there and being spared. And then when they arrive, they can go, we're the Church of Philadelphia. We fulfilled this verse. That's why those that say they're Philadelphia in the past, did they go to a place of safety? Were they spared? How can they say they're Philadelphia? You won't know until the prophecy comes to pass. Now that's right there in front of our eyes. It's an exciting sermon. Prophecy, it says, do not despise it. You should uphold it and try to figure it out with God's Spirit and ask for more of that. Now, I want to go to Psalm 91. This is a proof that you journey to the place of safety. It's amazing. This was written like 3,000 years ago right here. Oh, they always been saying the end will come. Well, it's going to come. And this is a prophecy for that. Psalm 91. Now read it at home, the whole chapter, on your knees, and pray that you're in this group. Desire it, crave it, want it. And then while you're praying it, God, I'll show you I want it. As soon as I stop this prayer, I'm going to do an action that's selfless, that's loving, that's kind, that's generous. And I'm going to do it representing you. I want to be in this group, God. You ever make a prayer like that? Psalm 91. Here it says, he who dwells in the secret place of the Most High, that's the Father, shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I will trust. Surely he will deliver you from Satan's trap and from the destroying pestilence. Look at that. One of the trumpet plagues is pestilence. But you don't experience it because you're in safety. He shall cover you with his feathers. Now, does God literally have feathers? No, but he created the eagle. So it's his feathers and under his wings. Those are angelic eagles. It says, you shall take refuge. You know it's eagles. We read it. On eagle's wings I will take you. Right? He didn't say lion's paws. Then we'd know there are big lions there, right? God is so awesome. It's specific. Eagles are powerful, powerful birds. Now continuing. It says he's our shield and buckler. You shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flies by day. So this proves we're journeying. Nor for the plague that walks in darkness, nor for the destruction laying waste at noonday. So it's going to be on eagle's wings. Remember, they walked to Mount Sinai, right? It's not like, oh, the eagle's wings is Delta Airlines. No, it's not going to be like that. Would you like another martini? It's not going to be like that on some plane. Verse 9. Because you have made the Lord, now that's Jesus there, you have made Jesus, who is my refuge, even the Most High, that's the Father, your habitation. So here's a spot in Scripture, it mentions Jesus and the Father. No evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come near your dwelling. And they go, oh, see, our home is a place of safety. You ever heard that one? God protects us in our home. It just said we traveled there. And just so you know, the Bible says your dwelling is wherever you're at. When you go to the great festival 3 times a year, it says you'll have a dwelling place there. Your dwelling, it's where you're living there, okay? Now, if you're home, you've been left behind. And you're going to get soldiers, boom, 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 knocking on that door. You don't think it will be safe there. God's not there. He's only protecting in the place of safety. Where a plague won't hit you, it says. It's that zone. It says, for he shall give his angels charge over you to keep you in all your ways. Now remember, Satan can't penetrate, and he goes after the rest of the seed. Show me the verse in the Bible where it says, and they're protected. No, it says they're martyred. The moon becomes blood. Now they stand up for God. You know why that happens? Because they weren't doing their due diligence now, today, tomorrow. And God wants to know, will you follow me or not? You put people in captivity, and now you're in captivity. Are you willing to die for me? Now, everyone in that place of safety would be willing to die. It's just that they don't have to. They were rewarded with safety. Do you want that safety? I want to end with Hebrews 11 because it's the faith chapter. And one verse, righteous Noah, is mentioned. Verse 6, we read, now without faith it is impossible to please God. Now, would you go to a place of safety if you displease God? So you have to have faith like Noah, right, to get on that boat and to build it. For it is mandatory for the one who comes to God to believe that he exists and that he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. You know what the word diligently is? It's crave. Crave it. Then here's the verse with Noah. By faith, Noah, after being divinely instructed by God about the things he could not see yet. Can you see the kingdom? Can you see the place of safety? Not literally. It says, was moved with fear, are you? And prepared an ark for the salvation of his house. Are you doing your preparation to go to the place of safety? Through which he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness which is by faith. You are also heirs of righteousness. Brethren, I want to get on that boat. I want to be there. I want to be counted of those 8, so to speak. And I want to be delivered from the flood that is coming by Satan himself. I want to sing the song of deliverance with you together at the place of safety. Now, wouldn't that be awesome? How about that first knock on the door? Brethren, it's Jesus Christ. Do you imagine that the first time you're about to see him, like Apostle Paul did and was instructed? So, brethren, as we read in the book of Noah, and you've read the story, what did God do as a token of his covenant? He gave a beautiful rainbow, didn't he? And just like a lot of things in the Old Testament, that wasn't the first rainbow. Because there's a rainbow around God's throne. It appears as, I believe, an emerald. It is so beautiful. Do you want to see that one day? And just as Noah had safety, right? And then sent out the bird, eventually saw the rainbow, right? One day we will be in the place of safety, God willing, and caught up alive. We don't have to die. We can be caught up alive, right? And with the other saints and go through the door of Jesus into God's realm, appear before the sea of glass where we behold the throne of God and see the rainbow.